Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel, AA Fine Arts. That's Augusto Argandoña Fine Arts. Anytime in this narrated tutorial, you can click on the subscribe button to subscribe to my channel. And I would also appreciate if you send me your comments in regards to this video or any of the other videos that are in my channel. If you want to learn about my virtual classes or want to see my paintings, you can do so on my website at aafinearts.com. This tutorial is about how to paint a street scene with watercolors. This particular image, I took this photograph on a very sunny morning here in Sarasota, Florida, an area called HILLVIEW and OSPREY avenues. It's a very iconic location here in Sarasota, and what attracted me to this particular image, this site, is the brightness of the morning light, and that's what I'm going to portray in this demonstration. So, without much more to talk about it, let's just get to the fun part of this tutorial, and that is the painting part. So I'm going to get myself located here and get some paper towels, which I'm going to need. And let's just get to the painting part. Here we go. So I'm going to start by wetting the sky area. I'm going to add a little bit of water to the sky area, covering everything above these buildings, including the palm trees. I'm going to cover those, I'm going to paint those later when the sky area dries. But in the meantime, this is area that's going to be with the sky. And I'm going to miss some of the buildings in the background too, because they're going to be very bright against the blue sky. So there it is. I'm just pretty much kind of saturating the sky area. There we are, like that. And now I'm going to make a nice mixture of manganese blue, which is a really beautiful blue, and the cobalt blue. That cobalt blue is going to be fairly bright, and I'm gonna leave some areas white for the clouds, but for the most part there's going to be quite a bit of blue areas here. I'm going to bring a little bit more of the cobalt blue by itself in some areas over here, and bring the paper is beginning to dry rather fast because of the lights that I have here. So I'm going to just kind of block out the areas where the buildings are. It's going to be nice and bright against this blue sky, like that. And like I said earlier, I'm going to block those areas where the buildings in the background will be. And also the roofs of these little towers that are in this building over here. I'm going to bring a little bit more blue over here. There's blocking out the areas where there's some buildings in the distance. And that's it. And that's pretty much it for that. For the sky right there. Now, I'm also going to bring a little bit of ultramarine blue with the cobalt blue, just to give a little bit more darker area to some areas of the sky, all while the paper is still damp, like this. There we are. There, we can bring that over here. And that's pretty much it. The sky is pretty much blacked out. So I'm going to leave that alone, let it dry. And while that's drying, I'm going to make a nice mixture of burnt sienna and ultramarine blue for the road, the pavement on the street. It's getting quite a bit of sunlight, so this one is going to be almost white. It's going to be very light, but I still should have a little bit of color. So what I'm going to do that here is do that. I'm painting this on dry paper like that. I'm also going to bring a little bit of burnt umber. Just give it a little bit of color here, not too much. Like that. Okay. Now, before that dries, I'm also going to bring in a little bit of brown matter and ultramarine blue. Make a different type of gray. This is a much cooler gray. And I'm going to add a few touches of that here too. A little bit more brown matter. There we are. A little bit more ultramarine, especially in this area over here. There, okay. I'm gonna let that dry. It kind of looks dark now, but after I do everything else, it's not gonna look dark anymore. So now the building is getting a lot of the morning sunlight, so there's a lot of shadows too. So I'm gonna go ahead and just do the shadows. So I'm gonna use some ultramarine blue with a little bit of rose madder. And a tiny bit of sepia. A little bit more ultramarine, a little bit more rose madder, and a very tiny bit of sepia. And go ahead and do some of these shadow areas. This building is casting a shadow over here. Like that. Right by those windows. In fact, I'm going to add a little bit more of those colors and bring that on this side of also this wall. It's pretty much in the shade. Like that. There. I'm also going to bring in some cobalt blue, some clean cobalt blue into that. Like that. And I'm going to also bring a little bit of burnt sienna, very light, into this area. It kind of breaks the pigments. See, it breaks the pigments really nicely, and it also adds a little bit of warmth to that shadow area. So I'm going to sit down now and because I need to have a little bit more control over these areas. So I'm going to bring a little bit more of those colors, a little bit of sepia and the rose madder to this other wall here. like this, and to this shadows over here, like that. And also I'm going to bring a little bit more of the cobalt blue there too. There, like that. Okay, now I think I'm going to darken a little bit more some of that area. Some of those shadows going to be a little darker, especially over here. There. Same thing with this overhang. There. There we go. And like that. A little bit more of the burnt sienna here. There. Those things are done. Now I'm going to bring a little bit more of the burnt sienna into that mixture. And do the shadows that are cast by this architectural detail over here. I'm doing all of this with this flat brush. There we are. I'm going to do a little bit of that over here. This little wall is going to be in the shade. So it will be this. And continue with those shadows. Like that. This wall also will have will be in the shade. There, like that. Now, I'm going to pick up a little bit more of the ultramarine and the rose madder, and get these all these shadows that are cast by these palm trees. Come over here, darken that a little bit, and bring those shadows over here. Like that. I'm going to bring a little bit of manganese blue into those shadow areas. Like that. There we are. Manganese and the rose madder also make a nice shadow color. There. There's a really nice shadow color there. I'm going to add this, darken this area a little bit more. I'm going to remove some of that. I'm going to do that there. And these shadows over here too. This has casting a shadow there from that overhang. I'm going to bring more of the rose madder and the manganese. And they come over here. It's going to be in the shade. Same thing over here. There's some shadows cast by this palm tree. Like that. And I'm going to come down over here too. Cast all of those areas. This will be in the shade, this will be in the shade. All of this thing will be in the shade here. This overhangs. Have a little edge, but the rest will be white because of the sunlight. There we are. Something over here. Yeah, like that. Now, I'm going to bring more of the manganese and the rosemary. Come over here like this. And there's going to be some shadows over here from the palm tree. And same thing on top of this awnings. Like that. Darken those areas like that. And I'm gonna leave that alone. So now I'm gonna go ahead and change brushes to a smaller round brush and pick up some of this teal color for the awnings. And I'm going to mix the teal with permanent sub-green. I think I'm going to add some manganese to that. It's just too chartreuse. I don't like that color. It's too chartreuse. So maybe some cobalt blue there too. That's better. Yep, that's much better. I'm going to remove some of this. There, that's better. The other side of that palm trunk, or that thing like that. There we are. There. Now we'll do the same thing with this awning over here. Same thing on the other side of that palm tree. There, okay, now I'm gonna let that dry. While that's drying, I'm gonna go back to this small flat brush, and I'm gonna pick up some burnt umber and a little bit of cadmium orange for this roof, tile roofs. This is a base color. It's gonna change. Like that. Something over here. There we are. There. Okay, so now I'm also going to bring in some burnt sienna. and the burnt sienna and a little bit of a brown matter. Give it a different tone to this tile, especially on the shadow side. Okay, I'm combining those colors over here, there, like that. Okay, before that dries, what I'm gonna, with a thirsty brush, I'm gonna remove some of this on the sunny side. The color is there already. I'm just removing the intensity of the value. Clean my brush, remove all the moisture from the brush, and do the same thing here. Like I said, the color is already there. I'm just removing the intensity from the sunny side. Almost to the white of the paper, but not quite, but quite a bit, like that. Okay, so I'm gonna let that dry. Now, while that's drying, I'm also going to pick up a smaller brush. Where's my smaller brush? Oops, over here. Some burnt sienna, and do some of these planters. Leave a little bit white on the right edge, like that. On the other side of that car. There we are, like that. Like that, there we are. It picks up the colors from that area up there. So now, I'm gonna, while that's drying, I will pick up some aureolin yellow. Very little water in my brush. Aureolin yellow, a little bit of permanent sap green. Do some of this greenery that's on this pot, large pots. Just give an indication of that, two things going on there. A little bit of undersea green and ultramarine blue for the shadow side, like that. Not too much. In fact, I think I'm going to go undersea green and a little bit of sepia. That would be better. Yeah, that's better. There we are. There. Okay, that's done. So now, before that, this is almost dry. So what I'm going to do is, there's some greenery on the other side of the building. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to use some burnt umber, not too much burnt umber, a little bit of undersea green, kind of a warm type green. In fact, before I do that, I think I'm going to wet some of these areas over here. Give it a little bit of softness, and then bring those greens like that. There, like that there. I may darken that a little bit more. Maybe now. We'll use some sepia on the undersea green, and darken a little bit more over here especially next to this building. Make that stand out. There, like that. Okay, so we'll do the same thing over here, add a little bit of water. And then bring some of that, the aureole in yellow, and the sea green, and a little bit of sepia. And then we'll add a little bit of that warmer green over here. This is kind of cool. I'm gonna add a little bit of warmer green over here. Not just areas of color, no details over here. There we are, like that. And now this tree, it's a little different color. Has a, someone used some raw amber with a little bit of cerulean blue for that green. It's a different type of green. And also, I'm going to use the brush like this. Like that. A little bit more water, a little bit more sepia with my brush, with the raw amber and the cerulean blue. There's some areas that are a little darker. Come down right to this edge of this building. Give it a nice definition, like this. There we are. Maybe a little bit more in some of these areas. Also a little bit darker in the lower area, especially around the shadow portion. More sepia, more on the sea green, and this time some Payne's gray. And this area will be darker. And underneath here. There we are. In fact, what I'm going to do is with a damp brush, I'm going to soften some of these areas. It's too much texture. Like that. There we are. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to darken some of this also. Bring some ultramarine blue into this mixture. It's too warm. There. And with a little bit of water in the brush, kind of soften it and just leave it like that. There we are. I'm going to add a little bit more definition of the foliage over here. There, that's enough. Okay, so now this building over here has some very dark green awning or roof. So I'm going to use some ultramarine, quite a bit of ultramarine, some sepia, and permanent subgreen. Like that. Show a little bit of those colors through the foliage there. Like that. There. And the rest of the building, I'm will be in the shade. So I'm gonna pick up more of that rose madder. Some sepia and the manganese blue. This will be in the shade. This wall will be here in the shade. Come down over the, expose that we'll add some darker areas over here. Expose that, bordering that edge of that SUV there. There we are. Kind of blend that into the tree. Blend it like that, and then add a little bit of a shadow on this side. And some of the shadow from the trees too. Like that. Blend all of this together. And now also one section of that wall is brick, so I'm gonna warm up this with the burnt sienna and bring that brick here. A little bit more. There we are. The rest will be cool. In fact, I'm gonna bring in some cobalt blue into some of these shadows. There. And I might as well just go ahead and do that sidewalk too. There. Okay. And do the, while I have all this gray, I'm going to do these windows in the distance, this building. Yeah. There's some smaller windows here, like that. There we are. And I'm going to take my smaller brush and do the same thing on this other building that's in the distance. This wall, I'm going to bring some manganese blue to this wall over here. There we are. Same thing over here. There. And get some of that gray and some of this windows. There we are. I'm gonna let that dry. Bring this other building over here, those windows there like that, in the distance. You don't see too much, and that's about it. So now, before I go ahead and do anything else, I'm gonna go ahead and do the detailing of this building, the main building here. And I'm gonna get some burnt brown matter rather, and sepia, and do the shadow side of this roof. Some of these palm trees are casting a shadow over here too. A little bit more sepia. Yeah, like that. Some more brown matter. I'm going to use some ultramarine blue here. Like that. Some over here. Some of those shadows. Like that. Same thing over here. The palm tree is going to cast some shadows here. There we are. Bring this shadow over here. Make this side of the roof darker, like that. Okay, so now I'm going to take a small brush and do some of the details of this. There we are. Same thing over here. Like that. Now I'm going to make a nice mixture of pretty much almost a dry brush, ultramarine and sepia, and do these windows. There. There we are. I'm going to darken some of those a little bit more with a little bit more sepia. There. Same thing over here. Like that. Okay. So now I can see that I need to darken some of these shadows. So I'm going to bring more of the rose matter. This time I'm going to use some cobalt blue. Make a darker gray and darken some of these shadows. Especially over here. Like that. There we are. All right, so now we'll do the openings and the windows. For that, I'm going to start with some burnt sienna, fairly rich mixture of burnt sienna, and come over here and darken those areas for the windows, leaving a little bit of white around this greenery in the pots. I'm going to bring more of that burnt sienna over here. Bordering that palm tree trunk. Like that, there. A little bit more of the burnt sienna. This opening. that. More burnt sienna over here. And the rest of this window on the other side. And this window over here. Come down over, blocking out the area where that car is. A little bit more burnt sienna over here. Some over here. There we are. So now I change brushes, and I'm gonna bring another color here. I'm gonna bring in some ultramarine, very strong ultramarine with a little bit of sepia, and start doing some of these other areas. Like that. Come over here and add a little bit of other color, darken areas over here, blacking that car. Like that. Bring some burnt umber and brown matter there too. Like that. Darken those areas. That's the. I'm gonna bring another color. I'm gonna bring some manganese blue, straight manganese blue over here. That more manganese, maybe some of that teal color too. And so the ultramarine. Some of the brown burnt umber over here. All those colors makes for a really nice dark windows, or the openings for the windows. I'm going to bring some clean cobalt blue here too. There we are. Some brown matter. There, that's what I like to do. A little bit more ultramarine here. Some brown matter. There, and those openings are done. I'm also bring my brush, bring another flat brush, bring some of that teal color into some of these areas. Pick up some of this color over here, accenting some of these other areas here. It gives a nice color continuity, especially in these areas of those windows, and it's really, really wonderful. Okay, so I'm gonna let that dry. While that's drying, we'll tackle these cars. Where's my brush? Over here. And I'm gonna pick up some of this gray with a little bit of the blue to it, and come over here and do this. This car. Like that. And the pickup truck or that SUV behind, I'm gonna make that kind of reddish. Yeah. Okay, now I'm gonna get a smaller brush and darken the window areas. There. I'll also do the tires. Expand this. And do the tires and the shadow area below all at the same time. Like that. Something over here. And connect those together. Where's my brush? Here it is. With the shadow area below the car, connected with the wheels. Over here, same thing, like that. The shadow over here, like that. There. Okay. And that's pretty much done. I'm going to do the little details afterwards. In the meantime, I'm going to do this edge of the curve like that. Bring that curve over here and do the shadow areas. I'm gonna get some cobalt blue and mix with this gray. And this tree is gonna cast a shadow over here. This car is gonna cast a shadow over here too. Some of the shadows. There's some shadows over here. Yeah. I'm gonna darken that shadow there. Darken those shadows. Give a little bit of a definition to these awnings over here at the base of that wall. And this awning will have some shadows too. Like that. And there we are. Maybe give it a little bit of a darker color over here. Like that, there we are. Same thing there. All right. So now I'm going to darken some of these shadows that are cast by these planters. Actually, I'm going to use some brown matter there. There. And now we do those palm trees. Those palm trees are going to be kind of gray. Pick up some cobalt blue, mix with this gray, and do this, the trunk. Like that. Like that. Like that. Pick up some of this dark gray and do one side, the left side. There. The rest will be green, some aureolin yellow and permanent sap green. These are royal palms. There we are. And now I'll take my little brush and we'll do the foliage of these palm trees. Get some aureolin yellow, get a little bit more water in the brush, some permanent sap green, and come over here, get some of the green, light green, because on the sunny side. Like that. A little bit more of those colors. Bring some cobalt blue into it. And brings a little bit of sepia into it too. Some ultramarine blue, and some of the fronds with different varieties of greens. Like that. Now I'm going to bring some permanent sap green too, and the ultramarine. we go. A little bit of sepia mixed there. Yeah. A little bit more of the alveoli in yellow. And there's this other palm trees over here. Like that. Some aureolin, some ultramarine. There we are. A little bit more water in my brush, some Payne's gray, some undersea green. A little bit more water. We need more water. There we are. Payne's gray and undersea green and sepia. Yeah, like that. Like that, there. More on the sea green, more Payne's gray in this dark area. That's how you do these palm trees. Bring some of the aureolin yellow with this green. There we are. Okay, I'll let that alone. So now I'm going to do this with a smaller, or rather larger brush, and do the shadow side of all of this. I was in the shade when I took this photograph, so I'm going to get some burnt umber mixed with these greens. Pick up quite a bit of on the sea green there, and the Payne's gray. And do this greenery, let's cover in the shadow, in the shade. It's fairly dark. All of this was in the shade. A little bit more sepia. Like that. Coming down to this curve. Clean my brush and then bring some burnt umber all by itself on this ground area. Blend it right into that greenery. Okay, now also overhead there was some green. Let's use some sepia and the sea green and paints gray. Quite a bit of it, and make this 3 dots over here. More water, more paints gray. Like that. Yeah, like this. A little bit more of those colors, some sepia. Over here, all of this is going to be very dark. All of this was in the shade. Coming all the way over here. Yeah. Okay. Now I'm going to bring a little bit more of that. There we are. And blend all of this. Leave a very little daylight showing through. There. Okay, so now that that's done, I'm going to get a larger brush, pick up some brown matter, some ultramarine blue, and make a very dark shadow color. And we come over here, and all of this is going to be casting a shadow. Like this, bring that right into that area. Get that curve. I'll cover that curve a little later. For now, I'm going to just do that. Some cobalt blue. Some brown matter. A little bit more cobalt blue. There's a shadow area. All of this will be in the shade. Put a little bit of a shade on this car, like that. Of the shadows areas. Now I'm going to darken this curve a little bit. There we are. A little bit more. And while this is drying, I'm going to bring some manganese blue into this color, this gray, and darken some of these areas a little bit more. There we are. There. This area will be dark. There we are. Okay, and so now I will take my smaller brush, flat brush, and get some paper towel over here, and I'm going to start removing some of these areas for these windows. Make them a little bit more transparent. A little bit more of a detail to those windows, especially the ones over here on this side. Not too much, just a few indications. Like that, all with vertical strokes. Like that. And maybe a little bit over here too. Like that. Okay. And lastly, I will take my round brush, pick up some sepia by itself and give it a quick darkening of some of these palm tree trunks on the left hand side. And that's how you do a street scene on a tropical area like here in Sarasota, Florida. Now lastly, I will take my rigger brush and do some branches. Like that. There we are. Give this card a little bit more of a life. Same thing over here. There. And that's about it. So I'm going to remove this tape and put this on the top of a darker board so you will see how this looks and be able to appreciate it a little bit more than on this darker, messy board that I taped my watercolor paper to. Let's remove that there like that. And I'm going to bring that darker board. And here it is. And I'm going to minimize this a little bit so you'll be able to appreciate it. There it is. OSPREY and HILLVIEW Avenues in Sarasota. I think before I finish this up, I gotta do this tree, the tree trunk. A few branches over here, maybe it's another tree over here. There too. Like that there. And that's it. So thank you for watching and hope you enjoy my painting. And please visit my website at aafinearts.com. There you will see more information about my virtual classes and a selection of my paintings and prints. If you should like to take my virtual classes, just send me an email at aafinearts@gmail.com. Thank you very much. Until next time.